How's it poppin', guys? It's been a little over 1 week since I completed the epilogue of Xenoblade X Definitive Edition, and in that time, I've been doing a lot of thinking. What do I feel about the game? Did I like it? Did I dislike it? How do I feel about the new additions? And this is going to be a little bit of a different video. I think a more stream of consciousness, off-the-cuff type of video I think is good for what I'm trying to do here. So if you'd like to hear my thoughts on Xenoblade X Definitive Edition, then thanks for listening. Before we get into it, I just want to ask that if you guys could subscribe, it would be greatly appreciated. There's definitely an imbalance in the amount of unsubscribed people that watch my content. It costs nothing to subscribe. It really, really helps the channel. It's hugely beneficial. It would be incredible to be able to get to 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year. That's the goal I've set for myself, and if you guys could help me with that, I would be eternally grateful. Anyway, let's talk about the game. So I think it's good to preface this with a little bit of my history with Xenoblade X. If you don't know, I played Xenoblade all the way back on the Wii, probably a year after it came out on the Wii. So there was no other Xenoblade game. It was just Xenoblade, and then there was Xenosaga and Xenogears, but they felt like a very separate thing at that time. So when they announced Xenoblade X, I remember where I was when they announced Xenoblade X. I was at a high school assembly. I think we were rehearsing for some like important thing that was happening, but I didn't really care because there was a Nintendo Direct and a game that looked suspiciously like Xenoblade, developed by Monolith Soft, was revealed. I was over the moon. Like, I could not have imagined that there would be another Xenoblade game. It seemed like this really weird, niche, strange game that was released barely in the United States. Like the stars aligned and we got a release in the United States. So when I played Xenoblade X for the first time, I was pretty shocked by how different it was from Xenoblade 1. At that point, Xenoblade 1 was my all-time favorite game. It still is my all-time favorite game, and I don't know if there's ever going to be any changing that. But I think it's safe to say that I felt disappointed after I finished Xenoblade X. It's not to say that at the time I thought it was a bad game, but I have some thoughts on that as well that we'll get to later. But I definitely wasn't thrilled with the experience. I was left feeling very uncertain. I was very much wondering, did I go about this wrong? Am I have to be in the minority here, right? And it seems like I am in general. Most people thoroughly enjoyed Xenoblade X, and I think going into it, I was looking for a Xenoblade 2, and I didn't get a Xenoblade 2, and that's not X's fault at all. I think it was my fault for going in assuming that the title Xenoblade carried a specific connotation at that point. But I think I have a number of valid criticisms with the game that we will also get to later. So fast forward, 10 years later, now we have Xenoblade X Definitive Edition. Now, I've played through X a couple of times since then, but I have never, to be honest, really enjoyed playing it. It's sort of like a thing that I force myself to do. I want to like X. I want to see what other people are seeing. I would love nothing more than that. That was always my thinking going into it. And this time playing X, I finally get it. I think I really do get what everyone loves about it, and I think I genuinely have come to like it myself. Many of the problems that I have with the game are fixed. The Elma and Lynn requirements are lifted from most of the missions, not all of them, but most of them. Affinity gains are, from what I understand, faster, and if they're not, they're made easier by not having Elma and Lynn required in all these missions. And also, the party menu there was no party menu before. You had to go locate all of the characters if you wanted to switch them in and out of your party. There are just so many incredible, wonderful quality of life changes that Xenoblade X Definitive Edition implements, and I think it's awesome. I thoroughly enjoyed the game because of the quality of life changes. However, I think that there just still are some structural issues. I think at its core, unfortunately, Xenoblade X as a game just has problems that cannot be solved. What do I mean by that? X has this insistence on halting your story progress. You have to fulfill all of these specific requirements before doing a story mission. And I think that's dumb. I don't like it. It really bogs down my enjoyment of the game. And some people don't mind it, and that's okay. It's okay that people don't mind it, but I do. It bothers me. I have to go find this affinity mission, do the affinity mission. I have to get a amount of survey percentage in an area. I have to have these characters in my party. I don't like it. I also have to be a certain level. That's the worst one. I especially don't like the level requirement, because it's not the game's job to tell me whether or not I'm ready to do the story mission. If it was like extraneous content, I could understand. If it was like a challenge mode thing, but like, okay, sure. But this is the main story. It should be up to me to decide whether or not I'm ready to progress further in the story. Instead of the game putting a wall up and saying, no, you cannot progress until you level up 3 more times. The game would be just much better off allowing you to go do that mission. And if the boss rocks my world and beats me easily and I simply cannot beat it, that is communication enough from the game for me to say, okay, I need to go level up more. I need to go do other things. So I think that's a huge problem. Another structural issue that I have with X is how long it takes to get out of early game. Early game X is a slog. There is just so much boring tutorials. There's a lot of monotony. I think even ex-veterans will admit that it's like that. The Moranium missions you have to do, if you haven't placed probes down in the right spot, like if you didn't know about that before the mission, you're going to be sitting around waiting for a while, and that's just obnoxious. There's also the fact that like the big selling point of the game, the skells, you really don't get them until halfway through the game. And I find that weird, and I get the purpose of it. I get that you're supposed to explore the world on foot, and then you acquire the skell, and now you gain a whole new perspective, and you can explore and interact with the world in a different way. And I think that's cool, and that's great. It just takes too long to get the skell. And likewise, it takes too long to get the flight module. Like, you only get the flight module towards the very end of the game, like Chapter 9, I think. And it's a side quest, too. Why is it a side quest? Especially when it's required in Chapter 12. You have to have the flight module for Chapter 12. Why can't the story missions just take you through the affinity quests, the side quests that are required? Why doesn't it do that? 3 does it. Xenoblade 3 does it with the Noah and Mio side missions, and I don't have a problem with that. I think that's fine. I don't know why X doesn't do it. But I digress. I think personally for me, enjoyment with the game officially begins when I acquire overdrive. Overdrive is the thing that makes the combat system interesting, engaging, fun, diverse. That is what I like about the combat system. Now, other people, it may be different, but until I get overdrive, that I'm kind of just going through the motions. That being said, the combat system in all its glory, fully fleshed out, is great. Xenoblade 1, I enjoy that combat system quite a bit, and this is just sort of that combat system, just better and without chain attacks. And whether or not you like chain attacks is a subjective opinion. I happen to like them, but I also like overdrive. So it's like an equal trade-off for me. So yeah, I mean, I enjoy the combat system, and I think the implementation of quick recast makes the early part of the game a lot more bearable. Like many have said, it speeds up the pace of battle. However, I think that quick recast significantly trivializes the late game. You don't really even need to think when you're in late game with overdrive. You just spam quick recast on everything. And I wish that there was a bit better of a solution there. But overall, combat, great. Love combat. And this time around, I honestly couldn't tell you what it really was, but I had so much fun exploring Mira. I've never had this much fun exploring Mira, and they really didn't change anything about the exploration, except maybe they let you change the time manually now, and the field skills are removed. So, I mean, maybe that's part of it, but honestly, I just think I went into it with a better headspace, so that's really good. I have nothing but positive things to say about the exploration. The only negative is, honestly, the follow ball. I know that they fixed it. It's apparently better than it was in the Wii U version, but the follow ball still kind of sucks. It just doesn't bring me where I need to be sometimes, and some of the missions just have these like ranges on the map, and the follow ball brings you to the area that you're supposed to be, and it's like, okay, the thing you need is here, and look for it, and that's a little annoying sometimes, but it doesn't happen too often. I had quite a bit of fun with the class system. Even when I had not nice things to say about X in the past, I could still at least accept that the class system provided a lot of depth and interesting gameplay styles. You can build your character basically however you want. You unlock all of the arts, all of the skills, and then you can go back to Drifter, a la Final Fantasy III with the Onion Knights. You go back to Drifter and you just mix and match to your heart's content. And I really enjoy that. Even though I basically just made a souped up full metal Jaguar, it's enjoyable. And that's the most important thing. Is Xenoblade X an enjoyable game? I would say generally, yes. The original game on the Wii U, if I was honestly rating it, it would be like a 6 out of 10. The gameplay is just so annoying in that game. But with all of these changes, the gameplay is easily a 9 out of 10. So if you are hesitant and you are unsure about whether or not you should buy this port, I would highly recommend doing so. Now we move on to the non-gameplay aspect of the review, the story. Now, for me, story is massive. It's very important. Of course, the gameplay is integral. The whole point of the game is the gameplay. But in an RPG, if the story isn't there, my motivation to emerge from battles victorious and my motivation to learn more about the predicaments that our characters find themselves in, that really depends on how good the story is. Now, if I was making this video a year ago, I would say that X certainly just has the worst story in the series. It really isn't up for debate. There is nothing here. There's nothing happening. From chapter 1 all the way until chapter 8, nothing happens in the game. You are just going from mission to mission. Go rescue this guy, go do this, and then in between, you encounter some ganglion, and that's it. The plot is very thin, and it's only around the time when the attack on NLA happens that the story actually picks up and goes somewhere, and that is where my enjoyment of the story comes in. After that point, I'm locked in, and I think a lot of that is a symptom of the development team prioritizing the gameplay over the story. And they've made it abundantly clear in interviews that that's exactly what they did. I don't fault them for that. They wanted to make a gameplay-focused experience with multiplayer elements, and I think, they did what they felt was best. But in the end, the story severely suffers. Now, I mean, you can do, doing the side quests and the affinity missions and all the external activities in the game deepens your relationship with the world and makes Mira feel alive and beautiful, and that's great and that's awesome. But at the base level, the story just isn't good enough to inspire me to want to do those things. I sort of had to force myself to do those things, and then, okay, now I'm seeing these side quests are really cool, and then I go do more side quests, and there's a lot of interesting character dynamics in those side quests that you just don't get in the story. Unfortunately, the story is very like Elma and Lynn and Lao focused. That's it. Those are like the only characters in the game, in the main story. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. I think now, though, the expansion has significantly shifted my opinion on the story, because the story feels done now. It feels complete. I've said this to a couple of friends. One of the things that makes the numbered Xenoblade game stories really resonate with me is their ability to change how you view the world in the main story. And what I mean by that is there are these points throughout all 3 games. I call them moments of realization. I don't know if there's a term for this, but that's what I call them. Spoiler alert. Get out now if you don't want spoilers for any of the Xenoblade games, or X for that matter. If you don't want any spoilers for X, then now is the time to go. But there are these moments. In Xenoblade 1, there's 2 moments of realization. There's the fight on Prison Island, where we find out that there are people inside of the Mechon, and then in Mechonis Core, when we learn about Zanza. Those are the 2 moments of realization. And both times, when you reach those events, it changes how you view and interact with the world. You are playing the game with a set of information. There is a status quo that has been established. And then this story development happens, and it changes how you feel. It makes you think about what you've done and what you're going to do. It changes your relationship with the world. In Xenoblade 2, there's the point of the game where you're traveling through the land of Moritha, and then there's later on in the game when you talk to Klaus. In Xenoblade 3, you have the cutscene where you arrive at the city, and then the hour-long cinematic masterpiece that is Chapter 5 into Chapter 6. There are these moments of realization. Why am I saying all this? Xenoblade X doesn't have a moment of realization until the end of the game, right? You spend the whole game kind of just like dirtling around looking for the Lifehold core, and then you find it, and then the lore comes. It drops like everything on you, but then the game's over. And of course, it's the only Xenoblade game that has post-game in the way that it does, and you can still interact with the world and develop your relationships with the people throughout the planet Mira. But for all intents and purposes, the main story is over. But now that we have this epilogue, now the moment of realization is like not at the end of the game, but in the back 2/3 of the story. Because to be quite honest with you, the epilogue is pretty massive compared to the rest of the story missions. It's long. There's a lot of cutscenes. There's multiple moments of realization throughout the epilogue, and I think that's largely in part to them attempting to connect it to the other games and do some fan service and trying to implement lore that they've wanted to get in for years now and that they weren't able to originally. But now the story feels complete. I largely enjoy the epilogue story. I really liked Void. I think he's an incredible antagonist. Sort of comes out of nowhere. A little bit like Zanza. Regardless, he is really, really compelling. I think my favorite moment from the epilogue is when Void finally comes to understand death and life. He gets it. But then Al breaks the news to him that you only die once. And when you die, you're gone. And you can hear in his voice, like the guy that does Void's voice, great job. You can hear how devastated he is. And then he asks, where will I go? What happens next? And that hits so hard. Obviously, Void is a terrible, awful villain. He's done some of the most despicable things in the Xeno series. And he's one of those guys. He just destroys civilizations to have his questions answered. That's crazy to me. But you can't help but feeling a little bit of sympathy for the guy. And I think they made him a really compelling character. I think Al is a great character. Genuinely like him. He is definitely like probably my favorite X character at this point. If not my favorite X character, then one of them. He's just great. He's very funny. He feels like he feels like he should have been the main character of the game, to be quite honest. And I was a little saddened that they did not kill off the Avatar. I really wish they had killed off Ryan Cross, whatever we want to call him, because I think moving forward, if we want to use this cast again, it's going to be really weird to explain Cross, unless, we just make an Avatar in every game moving forward, or we don't ever see this cast of characters again, and the MC is sort of this, he's like this legendary hero that helped the people on the White Whale to escape to their new home. Maybe it's the narrative, but I don't know. Who knows what's going to happen? All of the lore that they dropped was pretty incredible. I do think some of it is a little weird and a little contradictory, and it's going to take a lot of time for me to sift through that and try and parse out this new information. Yeah, it's going to be a bit before we get a Xenoblade X timeline video. We're putting that on the back burner, if that was the question you wanted answered. Yeah, that's coming much later. I need to figure this out. Perhaps we need an art book to answer these questions. And while I have made it abundantly clear that I largely enjoyed the epilogue, I gotta say, the final gameplay section in the new area of Volataris, I think it's Volataris. If it's not, then I'm dumb. I hope it's Volataris. I'm gonna sound like an idiot. That area sucks. It is awful. I really, really don't like it. It just pads out the game. It pads out the epilogue way more than it needs to be. It's completely unnecessary. And it would be a little bit better if the area was like designed with searching for your party members in mind, but it's not. Everything looks the same. I can't tell where I've been before, and I like to think that I'm, pretty good with directions and finding my way through games, but like everything looked exactly the same. It was just so annoying. I'm gonna give it another chance. You can, infinitely replay chapter 13. So I'll go through and do that a couple of times. Maybe my opinion on it will change, but I really did not like that. Overall, Xenoblade X Definitive Edition is a very good game. Is it my favorite Xenoblade game? No. Is it my second favorite Xenoblade game? No. Is it my third favorite Xenoblade game? Probably still no. It is probably still my least favorite. If you want to count Future Connected as a Xenoblade game, then I like it more than Future Connected, but that's not really saying much because I don't like Future Connected. I can say that I like X now. I'm one of you guys. I think X is cool. It's great. I'm happy to say that I like it now. It was really unfortunate that I didn't before, but now I really get it. I don't know if I'm going to 100% it, because that's a lot of work, but I'm going to spend a lot of time doing the post game. I'm going to sink a lot of hours in it. It's fun. It's fun to play. And yeah, good game. I went into X hesitant and unsure, and I came out pleasantly surprised and happy with the experience. And that's all I could have asked for. Well, I hope you all enjoyed my rambling. I don't usually do videos like this, as many of you know. That's not my typical content. This is the first time I do not have a script here. I do not have any bullet points, nothing. I'm just talking. I'm talking to you, my dear viewers, my lovely XenoBits viewers. So if you made it this far, thank you so much. And if you're not subscribed, please do so. I would appreciate it so much. And let me know down in the comments, what did you think of Xenoblade X? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Are you still unsure? I would love to know. Before we go, I just want to thank my channel members, To Play and Polygloom, my Legendary Blade members. Thank you guys so much. And my Rare Blade member, A Float Sign. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You help make this channel possible. I could not do it without you three, and I could not do it without you guys watching. With that, I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.